What's up, everybody? Rampage 78 Designs. We're back here today, and today I got a fun one that I've been trying to do for a little while now. Today we're going to be doing my top five most. Today we'll be doing my top five best Halloween knockoffs. So today we're going to be doing my personal top five favorite Halloween movie knockoffs. So these will be, I think there's movies from Halloween 78. Mostly that's going to dominate the list for the top five. There's one in there for that kind of copies H2. There's even some in here that have remnants of Halloween 4, but that's it. It's all 80s movies except for one. We do have one very early 90s movies that I thought definitely should make the list. And wait till you see number two. Number two probably should have been number one. We'll get into that. I think some people, you might have to be like a little bit of a fan of movie making itself and filmmaking to sort of understand some of the similarities. But to me, for the similarities in like a Halloween knockoff, like one of the movies on the list it was recommended. It's not really one that I've watched a lot, but I put it in there because a lot of people said it was a good Halloween knockoff. To me, a Halloween knockoff needs key element Halloween stuff. So a lot of people say, "Oh, check this one out. It's got like Carpenter, cinematography or whatever, stuff like that." Like, okay, that could still qualify maybe, but like I don't look for that in a Halloween knockoff. I look for legit stuff that maybe like this stuff is very interesting in here. You're gonna find, and if you haven't seen these movies, you're gonna have to check these out because I also want to keep in mind, people, that these movies are their own thing. When you hear knockoff, they're not completely bootlegs. You know, they have a big production. Most of the acting is okay for what it's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? I think that's important to keep in mind, that these aren't just, look, I think what happened was there was so many of these 80s movies and they were all very good. And a lot of them tried to take the Halloween formula because they saw it worked, right? I guess the problem was they should have found probably the next big plot point. Halloween was in the suburban neighborhood, Michael escapes, Freddy's in your dreams, Jason is at the campsite. And that's why those worked, because they picked themes. But these movies kind of tried to stick to the Halloween formula, and you can sort of see why they didn't maybe become the next big slasher. That was definitely their intention. But what it makes for is a bunch of good movies that you haven't seen before. They're like, how come I never heard of this? So let's get into the list here. I got some notes here, shamelessly. Number five. Coming in at number 5 is Alone in the Dark. And this was the movie that I was mentioning that might be something that's more cinematography, stuff like that, Carpenter style, in terms of filmmaking. Now, the movie's about a young doctor who works at an asylum, and the killers like think he killed their old doctor, and there's like a blackout and stuff, and they all escape. So they're all coming after this doctor who they think killed their old doctor. So this kind of, there's not too many, and the escapees go on a killing spree, of course. You'll notice a theme in all of these, how all of these get kind of started. And this one is no different from basically the rest on the list. So there's not too many similarities. We'll go through them. And I'll try not to spoil a lot of these. And what you can do is go back and try and find the similarities that you found and say, dude, you missed this or something. So like I said, it's a group escaping. The escape is very similar to Halloween. And you can see, it's funny because you'll see where they try to change stuff when they do take these ideas. So you get a Dr. Loomis in this, a Loomis-type character, and guess what? It's actually Dr. Loomis. It's Donald fucking Pleasance. So he plays a bit of a madman, and in this, he plays the opposite. So, like, in the Halloween franchise. He's so on it with safety. We can't do this. We got to do this. And so this one, he kind of runs the asylum. Picture the opposite. Dude, there's legitimately a scene where he hands a guy a book of matches. A mental patient a book of matches. So, you know, one of the killers in the cliche, that full Jason mask, that's like a two-part there, that was actually used in hockey probably. That was the mask used for one of the killers. But you only see him once, dude. That's when they're all escaping, and that's, he kind of looks like Michael. That's like, and he kills someone in a park. Like, that's your, that's your Michael. But you don't, that's probably their homage, honestly. And then you don't see him again. And that was it for that one. Go check out Alone in the Dark, though. It's not a bad movie. It's like a, you know, D+ movie, maybe almost a C. So that was Alone in the Dark, 1982. Okay, so this next movie is number 4. It comes in at number 4. And it is Offerings, 1989. This is the film that probably should be number 1 in terms of similarities in copying and ripoff and knockoff, bootleg. I mean, when I said they're their own movies, this might be the only one on the list, because number 5, right, was a movie that was recommended. It wasn't one that's in my realm. Number 4 here is, it has to be on the list, right? And it's number 4 because it's probably the least watchable of the 5. So you would think it's number 5, but number 5 is number 5 because the similarities aren't there. So that's why we have Offerings at number 4. So this one's about a kid who is bullied and is institutionalized, where years later he escapes and wreaks havoc. So it says here in my notes that we have hints of the Halloween theme off the bat. Dude, it's like a copy. Like, this movie very, very dangerously teeters on copyright infringement. I don't think this would pass the check if I put it in YouTube, for instance. So, it was similar how they sort of spoke of him being silent and staring forward in the asylum. We'll get into the similarities here already. Literally in class, and they're in class mentioning fate. And this is almost the exact plot of Halloween 4. And this came out in 89, so this could be a Halloween 4 copy. And so 10 years later, he's all scarred up and he escapes. You know, and even one scene, he's in the hospital, and they even have like the arm dangling scene. Remember that from Halloween 4? So the Annie death is sort of used. It's copied. It's there's a car death there where it's pretty much the same thing. You know, big surprise, a grave has been robbed. Whose grave is it? Judith Myers. You know, he came home. So yeah, that's pretty much what they're trying to get at there. The proverbial Myers house makes an appearance rather. They got the old beat-up house that the shit all went down in, and oh my goodness. Like, you got to see this for the sheer knockoff ability here. Towards the end, you know, they reveal him, and god dang, I mean, just damn, this guy is ugly. So they, you know, they sort of portray him appearance-wise as Michael, but he's not wearing a mask. He's wearing prosthetics, though, so it's like, I mean, they're not supposed to be prosthetics. They're supposed to be for real, but, and at one point at the end where he goes to stalk the person, it's like, dun, 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 and then it goes into its own thing. Like, it totally steals the Stalks theme. And you know, you got the head tilt, the sit up, and then he's just shot a bunch of times and doesn't die. Offerings is number 4. Go check that movie out. It's about a D, but it's, the production is there, though. It's not, like, totally unwatchable. So check out Offerings. That was, what, 1989. So coming in at number 3. So now we're getting into films that I actually, like, really like. And, you know, this movie is Happy Hell Night, number 3. This is the film that I told you would be from, this is the one that's from the early 90s. So this came out in 92, right? This movie's actually very much worth mentioning, even in the 80s slot. I mean, if you watch it, you'd see why it doesn't come off as a 90s movie. It seems like an 80s movie, and it's 92, so it's not too far off, right? So this one's about like a demon type guy who's in an asylum, locked away, and the plot involves a girl who's scheming on two brothers. She's like banging both of them. These kids, they break into the asylum because they want to get a picture of this guy for whatever reason, and they do it on Halloween, and he escapes. They're trying to get a picture of the guy, and I think he kills one of them. I can't remember. You'll have to go and watch the movie. This is actually a good movie. And then he escapes and goes on a killing spree. And so let's get into some similarities with Happy Hell Night 92. Like I can't speak. I'm very excited doing this. This is fun. So the plot does take place on Halloween. The intro and the theme, I would say some of these either completely kind of try to copy the theme or they do their complete own thing, which is, it doesn't matter. I mean, I think in offerings, you'll see like, okay, but these have their own themes and all that stuff. And then, like, some of the similarities, it's on Halloween. The intro is them, like, mentioning him, how he's been dormant for 20 years. He doesn't talk. They talk about him as if he's a thing. You know what I mean? A thing of pure evil. And at one point, he does fall off a balcony. And it's shot for shot, because then he disappears, and it's that classic recreation. His look is kind of like Michael Myers. He acts like Freddy. And he acts like Michael Myers. He looks like Nosferatu, and his antics are kind of like Freddy Krueger. So he's all three of those mixed into one, and that's Happy Hell Night for 1992. You have to check that out. That's like a C+ movie, dude. If you're trying to watch an old school 80s film or like something in the old school horror realm, you got to see that. It's very good. Let's get into number 2. Coming in at number 2 on the list is X-Ray. X-Ray came out in 1982, and it says 1981 on the release date, but, I mean, first of all, if you watch this film, then it's Halloween 2, right? So this is the one where I said there'd be some that weren't 78 knockoffs. This is the Halloween 2, I believe, knockoff. And so you get conflicting things. I don't know. If you know, comment give me a comment and let me know the story with this one, because Halloween 2, I don't see how they could have copied this movie, because it said it came out in August. But then I looked further and it said it actually came out in 82, which would make more sense because of let's get into it. So this is X-Ray 1982. This film centers around an opening where a little boy is sort of spying on this little girl and this other little boy who's playing with a train set. It's Valentine's Day. And the girl comes back to discover the little boy's been murdered by the other little boy. The other little boy is looking into the window. Basically, he's obsessed with this girl or whatever. So it flashes to years later, 19 years later. And he goes after this girl in a hospital, and he kills a bunch of people on Valentine's Day. So let's get into the similarities. Similarities, right off the bat, you have an early opening with a young child, and it takes place on a holiday. And then years later, we revisit that holiday. Obviously, that's the Halloween formula. And so some of the similarities, right? It opens in, so it is the early 60s that we open up with there. The killer has some POV shots, and it's heavy breathing, but it's very excessive heavy breathing. Like, they try to copy Michael, obviously, but it's to the max, right? One shot where he's like coming down the stairs in the back hall. It looks like Halloween 2. The setting, it's just the hospital is very similar. You got to see these movies. It's incredible how similar they are, and they're really their own thing, because this girl's here for some checkup, and the killer switches up the files, and that's why she has to stay in the hospital. And it's not, this one isn't similar, but funny. Over the speaker you hear Dr. Carpenter. We have a nurse Karen kill that's copied, except it's with a male and his face is dipped in acid, but it's the same exact setting. It's the same shit. So there's a scene or two where they force her to stay, like tell her everything's, okay, everything's fine now, and you'll be released later, Don't let them put me to sleep. That's what it reminded me of. So there's a couple of those moments. Fine ass 80s women too. And women from the 80s were so friggin' hot. And this lady's no different. Her name is Susan in the film. Of course, when they do the don't let them put me to sleep, it's instead of a needle, it's a pill. So there's a lot of things they slightly change up. So, whatever. There's a scene where the killer is trying to get to her. The elevator's stuck, where she's trying to. So that's from Halloween 2. The hammer kill is exact, except it's a mini axe. But you have to see that scene. It is exactly like the hammer kill. So that's X-Ray. You have to see that movie. It's about a C. I know I don't give B's and A's, but B's and A's. I mean, this next one might get something close to that. But so yeah. Check that movie out. That's a good one, X-Ray. All right, number one. Coming in at number one, the movie that I thought was kind of the best watchable movie and the movie that is almost the most like Halloween 1978. So, Sorority House Massacre 1986. That is number one on my list. And look, you guys might have lists too where you're like, dude, these are like the most, there's so many different ones that are better, whatever, it doesn't matter. These are my top 5. I looked on a knockoff list on like IMDb or something like that, or Google, and the list was just, I'm like, my number 5 is like their number 3. It really was. I think Alone in the Dark was like number 3 or something on the knockoffs, and it's like, there's not much in there to really call back to, so it doesn't make any sense to me. But Sorority House Massacre 1986 does have what we're looking for here. I mean, and you got to understand Halloween and sometimes movie making, I guess, again, to understand these movies and also take from other films like, A Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th, but we're just talking Halloween. So I was saying these movies, like a lot of them don't just take from Halloween. Some of them take from like A Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, and a lot of them are combined, but these movies are heavily Halloween. They have other hints of like other stuff in them. Like I said, the Nosferatu, Freddy Krueger, like they have those in them, but we're just talking Halloween, obviously. So maybe some of these movies could qualify on other lists like Friday the 13th, but again, yeah. So, all right, let's get right into the similarities, dude. This is a good movie. You got to see this. This movie's about a sorority house and a mental patient who, you guessed it, escapes from the asylum. Oh man, I mean, these movies couldn't have come up with anything better. And a lot of them too are just when the person escapes, it's so basic. The asylum almost looks like a house inside. And they're always just jumping a fence, and it always just shows their feet on the other side of the fence landing and just running away. It's very, okay, he's out. And a lot of that stuff is probably why these movies didn't make a mark, because even the original Halloween 78 opening, it's dude, like the way Michael escapes is not just, you got to see these to understand why Halloween had a little more substance. So, Beth is the main girl in this one. Okay, so Beth is the main character in this one, but wait till you hear like what obviously her real name is, and it won't be too much of a surprise there. So he escapes. The girls are very similar in this. The friend group, one's name is Linda. There's a very similar scene where they're all walking to school, and Beth even says, "Shit, I forgot my book." And so it's a shot for shot. We get the classroom scene where the teacher's talking about deja vu, and she sees him outside. So you got that recreated. So the guy gets out, breaks into a hardware store. Then he steals a station wagon. And we find out 14 years ago he killed his family. So, I mean, geez. It doesn't get more on the nose, right? We have a female Loomis who's actually named Dr. Lindsay. So this movie, I know we said the cinematography is not really a big, like, oh, they copied, but this is like blue hue, like they copied 100%. And then towards the ending, we have the stabbed couch spot. We find out the girl's name is, ready? Laura. Oh my God. Hey, dude, try to copy my homework, but don't really copy it, bro. It's got to look a little different. Dude, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. And the other sister that he killed years ago. So yeah, he killed another sister and her name was Janet, dude. I mean, how do you not understand that this is not going to bode well just copying something like this? And even when we make our first original movie, I'm going to try to make it so much not like Halloween. Like, and I understand Halloween is what was really hitting at the time. So these movies really tried to be like, oh, check this out. Like, maybe even we did it, but we did it better, right? And yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, so that was number one, dude. I mean, and I can't even, there's so many similarities in Sorority House Massacre to Halloween 1978 that you have to just go and watch it yourself. It's crazy, dude. And so you should go down in the comments and comment what movies, did you see any of these? And do you think that these movies are, very similar to Halloween? And what movies did you think were closer or should have made the list if you think that were good that didn't make the list? And so for my final thoughts before we get out of here, is like, that was my top 5 there. I thought those were great movies. I enjoyed them. You should definitely check them out. A Sorority House Massacre is like a B movie. It's very good. And it's very scary and creepy. I think it's weird that you copy a movie down to the music, down to the notes in the music, but you don't give the killer a costume or a mask. It's like, dude, you should have just went all the way, because I think that was a big reason why Jason, Chucky, and Freddy also advanced and you guys didn't, because Freddy has a signature look. He has a claw. Michael has a very signature mask, and Jason had a signature mask. They even said they copied Halloween, but it didn't matter. It became its own identity and a very household name. So it's like, I think some of these movies probably would have benefited by paying a little more attention to the killer's look. And even the Halloween films were guilty of not paying too much of attention to Michael's look. They didn't understand how important that would become, later. All right, so that's my top 5. I very much enjoyed this video. I can't wait to do it again. We'll probably do a part 2. We'll do some other reviews and stuff like that. And next Saturday, so what is it, January? Oh boy, 18th, I think. We're going to do another live, so be there. I'm going to have the raffle, and if you do a super chat, we'll enter your name twice. If you just comment, you'll get entered once. Comment down below. Let me know what you thought of this list. Let me know. Go watch these movies, dude. You have to see how similar they are, and you have to watch them for their own thing. They're very good. I can't wait to do another list. Thank you all for joining me. Peace.